From Sigma Woman, this is the Business for Aligned Women podcast. I'm your host, Clara McKay, your aligned business coach and advocate for all things showing up for your vision. This is a no BS space for brave-hearted women who are actually craving change, not just talk. I'm dedicated to bringing women's visions into reality, equipping women with all they need to build an abundant future, and shutting down all of the ways that you keep yourself small. Here, we're all about a women-centered approach, non-negotiable value alignment, and making bank without compromising your well-being. Each week, I'll be helping you to let go of shitty, limited mindset, comparison, overthinking, excuses that are holding you back, and feeling lost in biz, so that you can step into doing business in a way that feels good, step into total self-alignment, unshakable confidence, and to start taking direction on your vision. You will become the kind of woman who shows up for her dreams consistently, takes up space without question, and is making much more money and impact than she ever imagined. Just by making our time together your weekly ritual, you're already one step closer to your most aligned and abundant future. A quickie episode for you today. I just want to throw out and break down 3 main reasons why your content isn't working. And when I say working, I mean it's not converting to sales, it's not converting to grow a community, and you're not reaching people who feel seen and heard and held by your content. If this kind of information is interesting to you, you probably get a lot from my baby business guide. It's a small guide that's just going to point you to links of all of the podcast episodes that I think are particularly supportive for people who are just starting out in their business. It's totally free and you can grab it in the show notes now. We're going to talk about these top 3 reasons. And we're going to get right into it. The first reason, which I've spoken about a little bit already this year, is a lack of clear messaging. And the easiest way to say this is, how obvious is it what you do, what people can buy from you, who you're trying to attract, who you're for, and why they should buy it? If you struggle to answer those questions, you need some help, and my magnetic mastermind can do all of that for you. If those questions, but when you look at your social media, those questions aren't answered, I would suggest that that's a project for you this month, to clean things up and make it like really, really starkly obvious all of those things. Who for? What is it? Why should they buy it? Why do they need it? Etc., etc. The next one is really hard, and I don't have the perfect remedy for it. And that is that you're being inauthentic. And I believe that when you first start showing up on social media, you probably are going to be a bit inauthentic. That's kind of just, it's a weird thing that you're doing. It's new, and you're probably going to kind of compensate. That's okay. That's normal. And I will also say that if you've been doing it for years, I think you can fall into like troughs of being inauthentic. Maybe if you get a piece of negative feedback, or if someone bullies you or is awful to you, you might then revert to inauthenticity. Hand in the air. That has happened to me. That happened to me over the last 6 months very greatly, and did not help anything, and did have a negative effect on sales. Some of the ways that I constantly see the inauthenticity really clearly and obviously showing up is putting on robot voice, or if you grew up in the 90s, you might have heard the term phone voice. Like your mum put on the phone voice when she answered it. I know Kim Kardashian and her kids have called her out for doing that. Having a robot kind of voice, especially it happens with a lot of wellness people. They want to like sound really slow and calm, and they draw out their words, and they probably even start unconsciously speaking with an American accent, and they have an affectation at the end of everything they say. It will sound a bit like that. If you're doing that, people are going to clock it immediately, and they're not going to even watch your content. Speak in your normal voice. Don't put a voice on, and it's probably going to take you a while to start using your normal voice. You might want to record a few dummy videos and not post them until you start feeling comfortable with it. Another way inauthenticity comes up is they're trying to be perceived as a particular kind of archetype that they think they're supposed to be like. And very much that robot voice for wellness people is that. It's the archetype of the earth mother, yoga, calm, chill woman. And if you're trying to fit into an archetype, that won't work either. And there's lots of different kinds of archetypes. There's the gym bro, there's the Tony Robbins, like shake up kind of hot take person. And then there's these wellness people or cottagecore or whatever it is. There's so many different types of archetypes. If being that way is authentic to you and it is who you are, that's totally fine. But if it's not really who you are and you're trying to put yourself or position yourself as being that archetype, even though it's not who you are behind closed doors, and how you talk on your social media isn't how you would talk to your friends, then that's going to be a problem. Another couple of ways that inauthenticity comes up in your content, which will be acting as a repellent to your ideal clients, is of course self-censoring. Now, in the age of cancel culture, we are all going to self-censor to an extent, but we want to limit it as much as humanly possible. And you do want to speak your mind. But if, for instance, you're someone who swears a lot and you only use very, very proper words in your content, that's a way of self-censoring that people are going to pick up on that you're not being authentic. And the very last piece on inauthenticity, even though honestly there's probably millions more, is you're just comparing yourself too much. You've probably spent too much time online. You've spent too much time passively consuming other people's content. Consciously or unconsciously, you're trying to fit in to what you think is acceptable. All of those things are going to read as inauthentic. It's going to be harder to relate to you. The next one, especially in terms of your content working as in making money, is that you're never actually selling. This is such a hilarious one because when I first work with people, I'll always ask them, how often do you actively sell in your content? They'll always say to me, I'm not making enough money, I need to make more money. And I'll say, well, how often do you actually invite people to purchase your offer? And they say, oh, one story a week. Yeah, well, no shit, Sherlock. That's why you're not making any money. Like, if you don't believe in your product and you're not showing that conviction and transferring that conviction to your client, they're not just going to buy it out of osmosis. They're not just going to buy it on a whim because they think you're nice. We need to be explaining to them why they need it, why it's going to work for them, how it's going to help them, and why they should buy it from you. And you can do this really overtly. You can also do this really subtly. I tend to do it quite subtly in my business because that feels more authentic to me. But I do also just tell people straight out, I've got this offer coming. Here, you can buy it here. If you are never actually selling in your business, of course, you need to look at your concepts of gender roles. Like, is this because you think a woman isn't allowed to ask someone for money? Is this because you actually don't believe in what you're selling? So you don't feel confident enough to ask someone for money? Is this because you're not really clear on what you're selling and why you're selling it and how it helps people? Because if you're not really clear on that, you're not going to have conviction. And in order to make sales, you do need to have conviction. And just to remind you, the definition of a business is something that exchanges a service for a profit. Therefore, the main function and action of a business is selling. If you're trying to run a business and you're avoiding selling, you have an expensive hobby. You don't have a business. That's that. And if you never actually sell, you probably do need a sales strategy that's based in integrity that you can feel good about and it doesn't feel icky or yucky to ask people to buy things from you. I do offer my integrity-based sales strategy in my Magnetic Mastermind. It is the only sales strategy that I use. It has made me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I use nothing else, and it's entirely based in integrity. And whenever I do this with my clients, they say it makes them feel good and confident about selling. If you need that, jump in the mastermind. One other bonus that might help you with your content is that, especially with Instagram, you're being a creep. And what I mean by that is if you're going on Instagram every day in your business account and you're scrolling and you're looking at everyone's stuff, but you never like a story, you never answer a poll, you never comment, you never add in the question box, you rarely follow new people, Instagram clocks you as not being part of the community and it actually shunts your reach. Instagram is a community-based app. Purely, if you're in your business account and you see someone's story pop up and there's an opportunity to click on a poll, do it, because the more that you do that, the more it's going to give you reach. And obviously that's strategic because the more that you're doing that, you're staying on the app. The people who's getting that notification staying on the app. They call it community, but really what they mean is people to be endlessly plugged into it. But hey, if you're going to try and grow somewhere like that, you have to kind of play the game. Those are top 3 reasons why content isn't working. If you're like, crap, I really need some help on this, jump in the Magnetic Mastermind. I guarantee you that if you take on the sales strategy in that mastermind, you take on all of the homework and you actually do it, your business will be entirely transformed. I think you'll probably at least double your income. I can say that hand on my heart. If you actually do it, and you actually commit to it and you make the action, the things that I talk about in it, you'll double your income. All right, stop being creeps, start clicking on buttons, and I'll be talking to you next week. If you can't tell, getting to share this time with you is something that I find truly sacred. I know that you're busy, but if you've taken anything away from our time spent together today, could you extend the love and share this episode with a friend, your community, or on your socials? Tag me so that I can see it and I can share it too. Or when you have a spare moment, leave the podcast a review. These things cost you nothing and will mean so much to me. Let's get this resource into the hands of more women visionaries and help us collectively move towards our most aligned way of being and doing business together.